Hey everyone, Andy Waddell with Form Films. Welcome back to Grade in 10. Today I'm super pumped to walk you through my approach to grade a really beautiful shot where we have to overcome some exposure challenges. So let's get started. All right, here is our shot. This is a run and gun interview, and this gentleman is standing in this gorgeous chapel. And because there's no production lights, we have to leverage the natural light around him to light him. We have to frame him where we can see the beauty of the space, which is this pipe organ, the pulpit, and these gorgeous windows up here that are casting this light down on these chairs. And we have to do it all where we, in the moment, exposed for the best of both worlds. You know, you have to expose for the hot stuff, expose for the colder stuff. So this is where we end up. This is a Blackmagic RAW shot. We have plenty of detail in his face. There's even detail in his buttons and his shirt or his jacket and all this. And we still, we're blown out in the windows, but we don't care because we're going to let them blow out with a little angelic glow. But the detail in this wall down here, we want to keep all this. So let's get started and see what we can do to go from this kapow to that. So here we go. Killing everything I've just done. Let's start from scratch. Okay, gonna start with exposure. Oh, and just a word of notice. I'm working in color YRGB, not YRGB color managed, because color managed is just gonna crush everything down. I'm gonna have to bring some stuff back. And I thought, hey, with this shot, it's a Blackmagic RAW shot. Let's just build it from the ground up manually. So here we go. I'm gonna work with exposure. I'm gonna watch the peaks, these windows. I do want these windows kind of high up, but I don't want to cross too bad yet into the overexposure realm because I want to account for some glows and things later I'm going to do. Okay, so let's just find a good starting point to get his skin tone up a little bit while not killing the back end of this shot. Somewhere in there. Let's start right in there. Okay, next up, saturation. I'm gonna push my sat up pretty high. Just go up to like 90, maybe even 100. Just go to 100. Let's go to 100. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? All right, next I'm gonna add a primaries node. I'm gonna use my offset. I'm gonna sweep the whole shot and just play with some very minor adjustments to see if I can cool it down or warm it up or whatever just brings the magic. So I'm just gonna roll the wheel, kind of see what I want to find. And I think given that this is in a chapel, we want to make it feel afternoon sun-like. I'm gonna go ahead and just push everything a touch warmer. Off, on. And then because we're rolling that into his jacket, obviously I could pull my lift wheels back and pull it back to be a little cooler, but that's kind of jacking stuff up. So what I'm going to do instead is just tackle his jacket on its own. So I like the way this feels overall. Now let's separate out some stuff. Actually, I'm going to add contrast. I'm going to put just a touch of contrast. I want to pull the blacks down a little bit closer to 0, but I do not want to crush them. So it's going to be subtle, just a little bit. Okay. Now, let's work on his... See down there. Let's work on his skin and his clothes. If I could spell it, that would help. Okay. For his skin tone, I'm going to drop color compressor on it, but I'm not going to use it yet. We're going to use our 3D qualifier, as you've seen me do many a times, and we're going to grab this gentleman's skin tone. Now we are going to grab all of the brown, dark brown wood around him. Not too worried about that because we're going to basically just mask it off. He's doing an interview. We can definitely get him isolated from the rest of that. And then whatever doesn't easily isolate, worst case, hey, it just feels like it feels like the tones are matched. So there we go. Okay, liking that. Now what I want to do is get my color compressor, find a good central average skin tone for this gentleman, and I'm going to compress the hue, and I'm going to compress the saturation, tighten up the color of his skin. I'm going to flip to vector scope, make sure that we are on the skin tone line. We are, but what I want to do is pull it just a touch to the right, push it a little further into the warmth, maybe not that much. I'll adjust it for good after I get after I unsolo this. But we are right in the money right there. Okay, so going to go back to parade. I'm going to isolate, desolo that. And now that I've got his skin tone isolated, come back to curves. And I'm actually going to just bring up his skin tone. And actually just really work his exposure up. Soloing it, going to come back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and mask him off more or less. Again, I don't mind a little bleed. He's not going to do a lot of hand motions and stuff. He's pretty much like that. So that allows me to separate him from the background a lot more. You can see right there. I'm going to come back into curves, and I'm actually going to select my red, and I'm going to pull some red out of my shadows on his face. I just want him to be a little less red. There we go. Somewhere in there. All right. Let's jump on his clothes. This should be super easy. I don't mind if it grabs some of his beard. Doesn't bother me. All right. I'm going to essentially desaturate it. I mean, untoggle. So we pushed the whole image a little warmer, which I like, but now I want to pop his jacket out. So I'm just going to drop it down to about 10% saturation, which is going to make it nice and clean. And then I'm going to grab the low end just a little bit. I might bring it up just a little bit in the mids. Kind of roll it around, find what works. I don't want to make it look artificial, but I like maintaining the detail in these buttons and the creases. It's very, very subtle. I hope it translates on YouTube, but it's there, baby. All right, so let's kill that. Bring it back in. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're catching a little bit on the pipe organ here, I think, with his skin tone, but honestly just not, yeah, a little bit right there. Not that worried about it because it still feels very natural. It's not like I'm shifting it to some random color. Okay, let's do something cool. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add 2 nodes, and I'm going to put on this node the depth map, connect my alpha output to this node, and on this node I'm going to let's call this depth, and on the node right after it I'm going to call this God rays. Okay, I'm going to adjust this depth map. So the depth map allows me to isolate my talent, which in this case isolates really well. And then I can pass that alpha data to the next node to affect only certain parts of the image. So here's the kicker. Here's what's awesome about this. So now I've got him isolated, and you can see the preview. Black is visible, white will be, or excuse me, white will be affected, black will not. So now I can connect this next node, and anything I want to do on this will not affect him. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to come in here and I can see where the sunlight's coming down this edge. It's hitting these chairs right in here particularly. And what I want to do is just bring all that out. So I'm going to draw a mask that just kind of encapsulates this whole area, but I don't want to be glowing on top of him. I want to keep it back in the background where it belongs. And so by doing this right here, you can see that I'm actually cutting out behind him. It's not going to affect him though. So that's pretty cool. So that mask is where I'm going to affect it. Let's come in here and make some noise. way too much. It's a little sluggish because it's processing off of the depth map. So once I kind of get something that I like, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to do about a 10% soften on those edges. Oh, a little too much. I might go 5. I really want to see the edge of this. I want to feel like I'm seeing this glow happen coming down. It totally did not process. There we go. Maybe like 3.5. Yeah, I can really see that edge. So it feels like very intentional. The sun's cracking right across the edge of this and painting all the way down. And then I'm going to bring this on down and just let it kind of glow out across the rest of these chairs like that. There we go. Now I'm going to use my gain. I'm going to roll the highs a little bit warmer. And that's going to affect that area, just that little bit right there. What a difference that makes though if I toggle this off and on, like off. I mean, it's there, but yeah. Back on. Boom. Wow. Really, really brings all of this to life, doesn't it? It's super cool. Okay. Digging that, adding another node. I'm going to, as I often do at this point, kind of halfway through, jump to the end, add some sharpening. I want to sharpen this about 0.48. Brings out all the detail in his face. Really like the way that looks. I like the way he's looking right now. Coming back to God Rays, I'll insert another node. I'm going to do 2 nodes. I'm going to do a vignette. I know I keep saying this is like becoming a theme. I promise I'm not trying to make it a quick fix. But what I want to do, make it pretty big, make it more round, and go to advanced. And I'm going to position it kind of up higher on this wall. What I want to do is push our eye upward a little bit. So I'm going to pull this over about 0.4, 0.75. Okay. Now I'll just broaden it out. Softening. Okay. And then I'm going to mix it by about 65%. If I toggle this on and off, then back on, boom. Just puts a touch of darken down here. I'm pushing your eye upward. I've still got illumination on his hands, but it's pushing my eye toward him, which I really like. Okay, this node, I'm gonna actually do some lab action. Color space, lab, CIE, wanna come over here, hit my shadows. I'm just gonna drop them down to about -6, see what happens. Boom, boom, it pulls out the red hue in the lower shadows without affecting the highlights. I'm gonna actually put 1.5 in the highlights. That's gonna make my highlights warmer again. And then I'm gonna come back to the skin node up here and I might just roll my exposure up right here on the offset, just a touch. Yeah, liking that. Okay, between God Rays and lab, I am going to add some glow, an overall gentle aperture diffraction to give me just a little bit of glow around him. I'm going to increase the size and the curvature. Then I'm going to global blend it back to 0 and just walk it up about 25%. Maybe a little more, maybe 50%. Okay, kind of like that. Let's go 65%. I toggle that off and on. My windows are already blown out. That was just, I had to let a little bit of window blowout happen when we shot it in order to get enough detail in his face so that in post we could really bring it out, so that in post we had his jacket. So as long as the window is going to be blown out anyway, I don't mind leaning into it and making it a thing. I also like the way that glows this window over here. It makes it have more purpose. I love the way it kind of overlaps his shoulder here. It kind of wraps him into the scene right there. And then I'm going to pull my vignette back even a little bit more. About 0.5. And yeah, man, I'm really digging that. Why'd I hit save? That's funny. I hit save. Like, this is a project. This is my temporary project, and I didn't need to save it. That's really funny. Okay, let's disable this, walk it all the way through. From the beginning, we're going to bounce our exposure up pretty significantly right in the mids, just to kind of get a little more to work with in his face without killing the background, knowing we're going to do a lot of light and glowy stuff to the background. Kick the saturation up, starting to look a little more Rec. 709. Kick in the primaries, just warming up the whole image like that. Contrast. Surprisingly, pulling down my blacks a little bit just to get a little bit more deep black in the darkest kind of corners of his jacket. Now, skin and clothes together, kaboom, making him pop, bringing him up, bringing him to life, makes his eyes pop. Now we're going to play with our depth and this glowy God rays over here. Kaboom. Love that. Brings so much energy into the shot. There's this shaft of warm light coming through. Okay, we're going to glow the whole image just a touch. Boom. Now I'm going to lab to pull the reds out of the shadows, tighten up my low end. Vignette to push my eye just a touch upward. I'm going to pull that back even to 0.4, okay? And then finally sharpening just to sharpen the whole image. Oh, you know what I forgot? I totally forgot. On the front end, denoising. Because we're in some low exposure situation on Blackmagic, it does a great job, but I'm going to put a touch of denoising to ensure we get a nice clean image all the way through. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. Please give us a like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Grade in 10.